Hey Pavel,
Hello.
nice to see you again. We meet for the second time to wrap up the workshop session regarding attribution, incrementality testing, and everything. We kind of rushed through during the first session, and I think that we could pick up where we left the last time. We talked about many things, but like I think as part of this material that we have prepared, we left it at more or less at the stage of like we finished talking about channel lift, conversion lifts. I think that maybe we touched on lightly on search lift, and then I think that we did more or less. This is where this is where we stopped the last time.
Yeah, let's just jump into it. Okay, so just to briefly like summarize the lift tests in Meta. So Meta has this option to do conversion lift, which are available for almost all the accounts. I think you just have to have some minimum spend so that you reach statistical significance, but it's just available in the native UI in the experiments tab of your ads manager. So conversion lift is the first option. I believe we digged deep into the details last week, so I'm not gonna touch into that. But then there are channel lift and search lift, which are new iterations of the test. So channel lift additionally looks into the last click data. So from all the people that converted and clicked ads on Meta, some of them have, let's say, TikTok in the last click UTMs. And channel lift is a test that takes that into consideration. So not only you will be able to evaluate meta incrementality, but you will also be able to evaluate meta incremental impact on other channels. So that's pretty cool. We did some case study with Meta actually on one of our clients, which went really good. There was a huge impact on search, as you could imagine. That just makes sense, and there was a big impact on organic as well.
So what happens? What happens is that you run ads. You have control and exposure groups, and in the exposure group, basically what happened is that way more people actually were googling the specific brand and entering the website, and then as last click, let's say, they came from Google Organic or paid Google and then converted as a result. And if the ads, the campaigns wouldn't be there, these clicks and these interactions wouldn't have happened otherwise.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. That's
So
a very good one.
that is really like great piece of information if you're planning your media mix for the next months, because you can see that Meta attributes some of the revenue, but then you can see that like the impact on other channels is also there. So not only Meta is generating some revenue from the campaigns, but also it impacts organic, it impacts search, both on Google, Bing, and potentially other search browsers as well. So uh, yeah, that's usually very interesting data. And then there's search lift, which is a variation of channel lift, but focused on search. So you can have metrics related to each browser that you want to look at, and then for each browser you can even divide it for different products category. So that's also pretty cool. Although it's really detailed data. So yeah, it's not super useful with the for channel managers, but I think if you want work on strategy level, it's really just great.
Awesome. So just to step back a little bit, so right now we are inside of the incrementality testing by Meta, what's available in there, and yeah, this is one method of just measuring incrementality that is available in specific ad platform, and now we are going through all of the possible ways of like basically finding out what's the true impact of like the specific channel. Okay, I get it. So, how is it connected with Meta Shops and Meta Lead ads, basically?
Yeah. The way it's connected in this presentation is just Meta Shops and Meta Lead ads, but also things like TikTok Shop are there because of the initially because of the privacy reasons when channels started to lose their ability to track efficiently and precisely, and with a step from deterministic attribution to modeled attribution, it just made sense for all the platforms to work on closed gardens of data. So all channels wanted to, you don't know if all channels really, but Meta and TikTok certainly wanted to just give users the ability to buy directly on channel, because then there's no issue with data. They have all the data they need. That's why a Meta shop. So Meta gave companies ability to connect bank accounts, to connect all the legal details, and to connect basically everything just for users to get the ability to buy on the platform. And then Meta Lead ads for leads, it's a pretty similar concept just for companies who don't really want to sell on the campaigns, but they want to collect leads. So if let's say a person wants to give a company his or her data on the company website, and Meta has some data because of the pixel in the website, Meta can send some data back to their servers, and they can use it for reporting and optimization. But then if person converts one channel, Meta has all the data it needs. So it's just a bit better for the channels, maybe a lot better for channels for both reporting and optimizations. So it's also better for advertisers, because in theory at least, because optimization should be better because of algorithms having uh, more data.
And it and it's also better for the brand because there's one less click. If it's there was usually, I mean, to be honest, sometimes there is no reason for a user to leave the platform because the user knows what it wants. They want some free PDF, some video, some, I don't know, tutorial. And you just want to leave your email and get it served to your inbox, and that's it. You don't want to go to some external website and be distracted and load it in the browser. So that's also convenient in many cases from
Yeah,
user experience standpoint.
yeah, absolutely. And it's just faster. So that also can make a difference. So
And how does it relate to attribution and incrementality measurement? It's because there is more data, and when there is more data, the measurement is more accurate. And if it's more accurate, then you can there is more. You have higher percentage of conviction that this is an incremental channel compared to, let's say, other channels.
yes.
Okay, better data. Okay, I get it.
Okay, so then we can look at it on TikTok. So TikTok has its own functionality called attribution analytics, in which you're able to actually see longer windows for each event. So you can see some amount of purchases in your TikTok Ads Manager within the attribution you've chosen, and then you can see the full picture here. So for example, you can see that, let's say you have 10 purchases coming in within the 7 days post click, then maybe another 10 within 1 day post view. But here you can also check how many purchases are there within the 7 days post view window, or even longer windows. And obviously, it's often not incremental, but surprisingly to many, it sometimes is. And there are TikTok has some really good case studies that show that even 7 days or sometimes 14 days post view tends to be incremental, just because platform the way platform is changing. There's this concept of zero click marketing that it basically means that a lot of users these days just don't want to click because they are hooked to the platform. And I think this affects maybe the biggest on TikTok actually. So users are so hooked that they will not click, even if they are super interested, they want to buy, but they will not click. So they will stay on the platform, and then later they will come to your website and buy. So that's why it's
That's
super important.
absolutely natural, in my opinion. And it's not only TikTok; it's also like YouTube Shorts and Instagram, like stories on Meta. Like you watch a video, and then it's natural. Like 90% of like user experience with it's all like on mobile. And if when you're on mobile, you can just swipe and choose go to the browser just like that without clicking and type in what you need and the name of the brand that you just heard. So basically, you just go and you don't click on an ad. You have seen an ad and then you go to the browser to Google usually and you want to you Google that specific product. That's why this measurement is so important, because in my opinion, the user behavior absolutely changed because of the vertical videos over the last 10 years. That's how I do it, at least. And I think that the majority of people do it like this.
I used to click on ads if I like them, to be honest. I think that I will just forget about it.
That's true, because then it can escapes and you cannot come back to it, or people take screenshots sometimes if they like something because they don't want to lose that information about the brand or something. But yeah, that's maybe, I don't know what are the percentages. I'm really curious. I would like to get to know some results, some research done on that topic. But anyway, for sure, what's needed are the incrementality tests to measure the impact of the exposure of ads on specific groups.
Yeah, and one of the cooler examples is actually a plugin which only uses post-click attribution and maximum 7 days post-click. And there are lots of case studies that show that actually House was able to see. So incremental ROAS on House was actually bigger than ROAS attributed to by the platform to itself. So
So basically, they it's not the case that they inflate the results. They are basically too low. And if you measure true incrementality of a campaign in Uploafing, it's actually higher. That's interesting. Wow.
yeah,
Good to know.
yeah, we'll be just starting first test with a plugin on our biggest client in a couple of days, I think in 10 days. So yeah, excited to do this and curious to see the results. Yeah, so I think that's that. So generally speaking, TikTok, Reddit, and such platforms are following the footsteps of Meta. So Meta is a bit ahead with all the conversion lift stuff. Although Meta recently took away the ability for users to buy on the platform, so Meta Shop still works, but it's changed. And now user can add product to the cart. User can even initiate the checkout, but he or she has to buy on the external website, which is not the case of TikTok Shop. On TikTok Shop, you can still buy. And so
Yeah, I'm curious what's the reason for that decision.
I think people were just not seeing the impact of the shops. I certainly wasn't. And so we have a couple of clients that have Metaflops and used to use the ability for people to buy on the shop. It wasn't that effective. It usually was something like 10 to 15% of all the traffic was directed to the shops, and ROAS was quite similar to the website ROAS. So there's really no point. You would expect efficiency to be higher for that to work, and it really wasn't. It's a bit different on TikTok because on TikTok you have access to lots of influencers and that can help you with the shop, and those are super efficient. So it's also additional value for brands. But on Meta, there was
Maybe
nothing of
maybe
that.
there was no upside to have Meta Shop, and that's maybe okay.
Okay, so then MPAs, which offer the attribution modeling function, which is not that useful as it used to be a couple of years ago, but it's still something. And so there are some basic attribution models here, like clicks plus views, clicks only, first touch, less non-direct touch, and linear. And a couple of attributions that I used recently, TripleWire is this cool total impact attribution, which takes user service into consideration to just what users remembers about when did he or she saw the ad.
So basically, it also, on top of the existing usual attribution models like clicks only, like first touch, last touch, like in here, or like maybe data driven, like in Google Analytics. So what Triple Whale has done, they introduced extra layer of information that are post surveys basically, and in a survey a user gets a list of channels, like how did you learn about us, and the one that it remembers is also like fueled back to the model, and then you get some kind of extension like that. You attribute higher credit to the one that it remembers, but you don't also discount some other touch points of that user that happened on the way. But what matters, actually, yeah, it makes sense that the one that the user remembers counts the most, because this is where his experience of that brand was the most significant, because the user learned about the brand, about the service, about the features. That's why the user decided to go on that customer journey. That's really, really, really cool concept, and a really cool attribution model.
Yeah, that's something for sure. But you could argue that, for example, it doesn't estimate properly things like DV360, because what will users really remember that? He will not remember like some website. He may remember TikTok, YouTube. But as far as I understand, total impact is really like shaped by AI, which takes not only service into consideration, but all the other attributions as well. And it's generally pretty useful.
Good to know. Yeah.
So so there's that. And then Northbeam has this option of leads and deterministic views attribution. So it has some deals with the platforms, and platforms are sending Northbeam lots of data on each user that converts. And because of that, Northbeam is really able to know how many post-view touch points were there within the user's journey, and is able just to divide the credit for the conversion to all the view touch points. And yeah, it's quite interesting because it uh, it it shows, usually it increases the ROAS on paid social channels, and it decreases a bit on Google and Bing, which makes sense if you think about it, because the view is probably higher on paid social. It's not that those positive view attach conversions are incremental, because we don't know that, but it's still interesting. So it's not any kind of source of truth, and it shouldn't be, but it's an interesting data point that you probably should take into consideration while planning for the future.
And just there's accrual and cache snapshot. Do you know if it's something useful and interesting to the potential users of Triple Whale, or some of people that will listen to that video?
Yeah, so it's just so these are based on actually accounting models, and accrual is connecting the received cash to the moment when transactions occurs. Then so you can think about it in the way that you can either attribute revenue to the moment of click, and then you can also attribute it to the day of actual transaction. So it's basically
So
just that.
basically, if I click today and I convert tomorrow, then my the revenue of that business in in one case is gonna be attributed to yesterday. In another one, it's gonna be attributed to today, right? So I converted today, so okay, so that makes sense, because sometimes if you have the end of the month or the end of the week, it makes sense, especially like big promo events. You want to know when actually the first click happened. Was it due to the promo and they, learned about it. They copied the code or like something, and then they convert on the transaction happened like a few days later. That makes sense. Awesome.
Yeah, but also it really makes all the difference in the world when you're reporting to your customers, because what your customer will see on the backend is cache
Tra-
snapshot.
Yes, only cache. Yeah.
Yes, but cache snapshot is not the best model for like optimization and analysis, because if you stop all the platforms today, you will still get some cache tomorrow because people will convert. It doesn't mean that I mean that tomorrow was great from the marketing perspective. It just people convert them, but you want to.
And it's especially important when it comes to incrementality tests. So if you run some kind of sequential test, like this month we have this channel on, this month we don't have it, we switch it off. Some people, will just convert with delay from that specific channel. So if you use accrual, then there will be less shift between days. Yeah, so it's gonna be a bit more accurate. But that absolutely
Yeah,
makes
but
sense.
and on some days there may be huge difference between accrual and cache snapshot. So it's going to show you that TikTok is improving, like when you look at cache snapshot, but then it will show the other way around if you look at accrual. And that's with accrual, you have to constantly look into the past as well, because it can attribute some of the revenue even, let's say, 60 days into the past. So yeah,
Especially in B2B world, that's absolutely something normal. Okay,
exactly.
cool.
Okay, so then we have the user journey, customer paths, which are not that useful these days because it's really hard to connect all the like touch points. So usually I always kind of expect a lot from this view, but usually there's almost nothing there. So for example, this screenshot shows like the most popular paths were all direct, which is we know it's not the case.
Yeah, we know that
It's
it's not the
just
case.
yeah, but it's still shown like that. So yeah, usually there's not much there. There are some interesting things. Sometimes it's interesting to look which meta platforms connect to which Google platforms. That's sometimes cool. You can see interesting insights there, but otherwise it's not as useful as you would think it is. So yeah. Still, I think MPAs are quite useful for the channel comparisons, especially if you want to run channels like Nextdoor or some less popular channels. I think just looking at one source of truth just makes sense. You can look at very different big like attribution windows. So here's an example of one day clicks only window for one of our clients, which shows comparisons between TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, and Google. Another quite interesting thing is just tracking where new visitors are coming from. So you can just build custom dashboards that will show you the number of new visits and then the percentage of new visits. And you can, for example, what we wanted to do here is we wanted to evaluate TikTok versus Reddit, and we looked at new visitors, percentage of new visitors, transactions, and revenue. And you can see that TikTok looked much better. The spend was quite similar at this point in time, if I recall correctly. But yeah, TikTok was just far more efficient for us at this point in time.
Really useful, and much better what you can find in Google Analytics, especially.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So then a couple of other interesting things. These are all screens from Northbeam from 2 months ago. So RAS Rift is quite interesting. So it really shows you the difference between some attribution that you chosen and like longer windows. So yeah, it's quite interesting. Then Facebook versus Google brand search revenues. These are correlations. There is just some things that makes a lot of sense. the fact that Facebook spend is correlated with Google branded search revenue is one of them. Probably one of them. Probably Facebook spend is also correlated with just organic revenue. Probably if we would look at Bing, it's also correlated, although Bing is much smaller for us, so it's always harder to find correlations when one channel is significantly smaller. We can, yeah, it's just harder usually. But it's still quite cool. And you can also look at TikTok spend versus Google branded search revenue. You can look at other channels. You can look at connected TV spend versus branded search revenue. So yeah, there are some interesting correlations to be found for sure. But obviously, correlation is not causation, and then doesn't necessarily have to mean anything. Then, if, for example, Facebook spend wouldn't be correlated with Google branded search revenue, it may mean that you have some kind of problem there.
But it is a signal for verification, right? So hey, if it's correlated, what if we run a test
Yeah.
that if one variable changes the other one, so we know that this correlation is actually causation. Yeah, so makes sense.
Yeah. Another interesting thing is new purchase revenue versus spend on the platform. So second. So here you can look at spend on uploading Google Ads, YouTube Ads, and TikTok. And these are the small numbers here are the relations between new purchase revenue and that spend. And you can see that Meta has the highest, and then surprisingly there's uploading, and then YouTube. No, sorry, YouTube is actually second, so it's a bit stronger than uploading. And then Google looks pretty weak in that comparison, same way as TikTok.
Okay. Wow. So that's really useful. Strong, very strong positive, and you can see that these signals are, that basically can, influence a lot of decisions. That kind of view. That's really powerful one.
And then I think we're not be able to get through everything today. I thought we were going to be moving faster, but I guess that's cool. We can always do like the third video.
Third round. Okay. But we can continue.
So that's also an interesting part. This shows conversion lag. So basically, if you look at the past days, how much revenue came within one day, and then within 7 days, and then within other time periods. So that's quite interesting because some days may have like really higher revenue coming even after 30 days window. So that's something there for sure. So here an example day has still like $10,000 coming somewhere between 30 days and just
Is it like already attributed and we are looking in the past, or it models based on the lifetime value, it models extra revenue that will come in the future? I think
it's deterministic.
It's
So it doesn't
deterministic.
yeah, but it depends on the attribute. Because here I was using clicks plus views. So these are this is revenue that is attributed to Meta in clicks and views within all those windows. So lifetime is like just no time window, just everyone who clicked and or viewed ad on the platform, and then both is attributed to Meta.
Yes, okay, but this view is really powerful because like looking at just ad platforms data or just transactions data, you don't see that there is this extra layer of clients that were just acquired, and some of them will come back as a cohort of clients that are loyal and they come as part of the retention, so they will add on the revenue that should be attributed to that specific time when the campaign was on, and thanks to which campaign this user was acquired. So it is for sure very very useful to evaluate the how impactful that specific channel is. Cool.
Yeah,
Very useful.
absolutely. Yeah. So
But you still find incrementality tests as more helpful than multi-touch attribution platforms, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Streaks and views attribution doesn't necessarily have to mean anything. I mean, there are funnels that have really high overlap between them. Some of the paid social channels, especially, and then you really don't know if so you have 100,000 revenue coming from that day, but then you see 100,000 in Meta and 80,000 in Pinterest. If you want to be sure which ad cost the transaction, not only attributed it, you have to go for incrementality test.
Okay. And that's
Okay.
another view from the demo charts from different multi-touch attribution platforms.
Yeah, I think this is a Northbeam view for the cohorts based on time. So you can see just day one purchases and then purchases within other windows. So this uses cumulative values, and there are a couple of other like types of values that you can use. Marginal, cumulative, excluding day one, then counting or not counting reference that
Mhm.
may be important for some customers, number of orders, and percentage of reordering. There are always, I really like looking at cohorts because there are always like really interesting informations there. For example, when evaluating promos, you can see that, let's say, August was the month that had some big promo in it, or maybe had a promo running for the whole month, then you can see that maybe NCAC was much better, but then what's the impact of the promo on the lifetime value of those customers? You can see the answers to such questions in the cohort section. So you'll be able to clearly see within the 30 days and then within 180 days and even longer windows. So, for example, um, let's look at November 23. So November is Black Friday month, obviously. You can see that the number of customers is clearly higher than October, December, and then January and February. Um, the day one value actually looks weaker than a couple of months before, although still stronger than the months that
Ahead.
went after. But it's certainly smaller than it used to be. The difference is even bigger within the 30 days versus the past, and then even bigger within the 180 days. So that's
So that's
60.
really, yeah, that's really helpful when it comes to evaluating of the performance of the past promo periods like Black Friday, Cyber Monday, months. Why? Because you know how many clients you acquired and how how impactful that cohort of clients was on overall lifetime value, and how, like did they just come for the promo? They just bought it for like the half price or like minus 30%, minus 50%, and they didn't come back for more, and they were just one-time clients, or that's it, and that's it, or maybe they actually became loyal clients with high retention, and you can compare that in here in that view. And yeah, and especially if you connect it to specific channels, and you can evaluate users coming from different channels as well, I guess. But yeah, it's clearly visible that here actually the scenario was quite positive because the lifetime value is almost the same as in the following months, right? So around $110 in the first 180 days.
Yeah, it's either positive or maybe it's negative, but just next ones were just even worse. So that's also a possibility. But yeah, I think so. Efficiency is always a function of NCAC and lifetime value. And it's very easy to make a mistake and focus on the NCAC too much. And then you get all the companies that are on the promo constantly. But if you look at lifetime value or even the 180 days value, you'll see that those users may not necessarily come back as often as you would like to. And then maybe the NCAC that you think works, maybe it just doesn't work because maybe you will be losing money because of that. So
that kind of situation, if you have that situation, then that case can inform the next year, and you can like spend less on promo period, or reduce the promo so that it's not that as big, and maybe that will influence the final lifetime value. And then after the next 12 months, just before the next promo, you can evaluate that pivot, whether it was a good one or not. Yeah, that's awesome. That's really powerful in terms of like planning of promos and planning of like how much you should spend. Is it healthy for the business or not? Yeah, very useful.
Absolutely. One of my favorite views, for sure. Let's maybe end there for today.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks a lot, Pavel, and see
Yep.
you in the next one.
Yep.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye.
Bye.